ladies and gentlemen, it is hot take time. Let's take a few minutes here and discuss the new ODSS rules. If you guys have been following along with the Outlaw Diesel Super Series, then you've seen that a couple weeks back they came out with a rule set. They quickly revised it because it seemed like there was a bit of a mutiny in the community, and they came back out with a final rule set for 2025 that I think is the best looking rule set probably that they've ever had. I think they did a really good job on it. A couple things, if I was king for a day, that I might tweak a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's really exciting, and I'm hoping that it will breathe some new life into diesel drag racing. So let's just take a few minutes here and go over a couple of the changes. All of the ET 670 and 770 classes have stayed the same. Absolutely no change there. The first change starts in 590. It's a small change, but I think it's a change in the right direction. They went from a 590 index to a 570 index. There's allegedly several people that were campaigning to have that changed. It seems from the outside looking in, from watching the class all year long, that there's many guys that can go well faster than 590, and a lot of guys were actually at the point where they're having trouble slowing their combinations down enough to run 590. 590 has been around since 2018. I was actually one of the original people that helped advocate to create that class to kind of bridge the gap between Pro Street and 670, and I think that it's arguably the best class that ODSS has to offer currently. So that just gets moved down to a 570. So if you are building a truck right now and you are building it with a power and weight goal of 590, you have to step it up a little bit to be able to run that index. But with the way that everything is going in the diesel community lately, the knowledge that's being shared around, as easy as it is to buy good horsepower, buy good transmissions, people are building lighter trucks. There's no weight limitations on 590, or should I say 570 now. I have to get used to saying that. I think that it'll be a great move in the right direction. And anything in the fives is fast, guys. Like, if you've never been fives before, it is fast. I talked to Jordan about it after he went his 597 pass. Previous to that day, he had never driven anything to that caliper. He hadn't been quicker than 15s in the quarter. And he told me, yeah, fives are fast. 590 is fast. So 570 is even faster. So I think that's going to be a really awesome class to watch. The cool thing about the 570 index is all of your safety stuff that you had before in 590, it all still applies. There wasn't any barrier broke to where you now have to buy more safety equipment or anything like that. Everything you already currently had is good. Your license is currently good. There's nothing that needs to really change on you or the truck side to step it up a couple of tenths in ET. So now, the stuff that I'm probably the most excited about is they have finally made major changes to Pro Street. Pro Street is a class that has been around forever, since the inception of ODSS, really before the inception of ODSS back in the heyday of the NHRDA days. Pro Street was the class where you raced a full-size diesel truck. Back then, it was about impossible for anybody to get under 4,500 pounds, so they had a 4,500 pound minimum. And as things have advanced, technology has advanced, horsepower has been easier to buy, transmission development, it was very easy for guys to go really, really fast in that class. Levon was the first person to go in the fours back in 2018 in that class when he went 497, and that really changed some stuff as far as SFI certifications go. Previously, they had just come out with the 25.6 cert cage, and that cage was really only good to 5.0 in the 8th at the time, the way that the literature was understood. And so when they dipped into the fours at that 4,500-ish pound weight range, it raised some concern as to where do we go from here. At that time, Pro Street basically became a 5.0 index class. It was ran out in the 2019 season as essentially a 5.0 index class due to chassis cert. There were some interpretations of the rules moving forward. In 2020, COVID happened. We needed to keep car count good from the way I understood it, and the rules were a little bit more lax. And so over the last few years, we've seen guys push further into the 4-second barrier, and we have seen that Pro Street class go as fast as into the 470s. This has raised concerns with chassis certification, weight limitations, and finally, they have made the decision to drop all of the minimum weight stuff off of what was Pro Street. It is now called Pro Truck. That class got turned into a 470 index class. So essentially it's heads up until you can hit the 470 number, and there's no weight rules now. There was a lot of controversy on that. Originally that was going to be the class. That was Pro Street, was now Pro Truck. It's a 470 index. There's a lot of guys that were wanting to push the envelope past that. The reality of it is there really isn't any guys at current Pro Street weight going faster than in the high 470s. But now with them being able to pull as much weight as they can pull out of their trucks, now they're wanting to go faster, and there's a handful of guys that do not want to index race. So the powers that be got their heads together. Keep in mind, I don't sit on any board with this deal. I have no influence at all in this. I just sit back and wait for the rules to come out and then interpret them how I see them. But from the way I was understood, there was several meetings. People that actually race the class, that are front runners of the class, advocated for something else, another class that the top tier guys could run all out heads up in. Greg at ODSS communicated with SFI, and the way that the literature is wrote, SFI is okay with you going 180 miles an hour if you have a 25.6 cert chassis, or if you have a lightweight truck that has a 25.4 cert. You're essentially okay to go up to 180 miles an hour. Doesn't matter if that's quarter or eighth mile. So they created a new class called Super Diesel, and that is a class for the guys that want to run all out. So, you know, your Justin Zieglers, your Paul Catos, the people that were top of the field in Pro Street now have Super Diesel, where they can go and try to go as fast as they can go up into 180 miles an hour. This class is also open to two-wheel drive stuff, which I think was a great decision because that's going to allow trucks like Michael Dalton's old and new truck into that class. Guys like Derek Rose now have a place to race their truck. So I think that'll be really interesting to see like Austin Deutsch and the Rudy's truck. I'm not sure if Austin's going to run 470 index yet or not, the Pro Truck, or if he's going to go straight to Super Diesel. But there's going to be a handful of guys, nonetheless, that are going to go really fast. Derek is currently the four-wheel drive record holder. He's been 441 a handful of times now. The Rudy's truck has been 460s. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens when some of these guys that have been running at Pro Street weight, like Paul Cato and Ziegler and others, pull the weight out of these trucks and see how far that they can go. And there's no ET restriction, so as long as they keep it under 180 miles an hour, you could go really, really fast. For example, Derek's 441 pass was 173 miles an hour. So I think that Derek could very easily go mid to low 30s, 430s, and stay under that 180 mile an hour barrier. So as a fan of the sport, that is going to be a really fun class to watch. And then as far as the Pro Mod and the Top Dragster deal, they just basically lumped all that together to where dragsters are now going to race Pro Mods. And I know that there's some rumblings from the dragster guys that they don't really like that. I don't know if the Pro Mod guys really care or not, but the reality of it is there's just not a lot of those. Our general demographic of fans care about the truck racing side of it. And so I think that that is where ODSS has put most of their emphasis into the rules change. Now, my hot take on this stuff is I really like the 570 index. Think that's a great move. The 470 index, when they originally came out with it, it was going to be a 490 index. I really kind of wish they would have left that at a 490 index because it is an achievable goal for a lot of people. Having been 490s myself, I know what it takes to get there. It is hard, it's a lot of work, but it is doable. 470s is a whole nother ball game. It's like the difference between going 570s and 50s or 520s. Like, it's a pretty big jump to go from 490s to 470s. So I think that might deter some newcomers into really getting amped up and excited about that class. But at the same time, I understand why they did it, because as of right now, there's only been a couple trucks go into the 470s. And so they felt like if they put a 470 index cap on it, it might be several years before that class turns into a true index class. And so it's going to be more of a heads-up style class. And I do like that because it seems like it is hard to get some people into index racing. Some people are just heads-up guys, and they want to run heads-up. The faster class with no rules, no holds barred, I think that's great. I think we always need some sort of place for guys that have the budget, have the team, have the willpower to push the envelope, to see how far you can take something, because there's always a lot to learn from those guys, and what those guys develop always trickles all the way down to the rest of the racers, and it makes all of the racing better because of it. So overall, I think it's a great rule set. I'm the most fired up that I've ever been about ODSS. It's been a while since I've been like real pumped up about it, and man, I'm excited. I've got a couple trucks here in the shop that I'm ready to get together now. I know Jordan's excited about it. I think that we've made the decision, or he's made the decision, I should say, to run the 570 class with his truck. I think that's going to be a great place for him to start off, and I think that he's going to actually really enjoy being competitive and learning how to be a really good drag racer, because, man, in that class, you are the difference maker. You have to have a good truck, good equipment, you got to be a good driver, and at the end of the day, if you can do that, you're going to turn on win lights and bring home a championship. I'm a little undecided what I'm going to do with mine yet, but I'm probably going to stick with my plan of entering a class that allows me to keep learning how to go faster. And so I'm probably going to enter that pro truck class, which is essentially the 470 limited class, and see where that class shakes out, man. It sounds like a lot of the guys that were used to running Pro Street before are moving up to the Super Diesel class. So that class might be kind of open. I don't know what the car count's going to look like with it. It might be a class where if you start off going 540s, 530s, you might be able to go a couple rounds. Previously in Pro Street, if you were going 530s or 540s, you weren't really going any rounds anyways. So that's where I'm going to go, especially because they've taken the weight limits off. I have been advocating for years now, me along with many others, to please take the weight limitations off of these classes. It's not helping our sport, it's not growing anything, it's not pushing anything forward. Now you can actually spend your time building a chassis, making it lightweight, and you don't have to buy so much horsepower. The transmissions will live longer, the engines will live longer. That 470 index class, I think, is a great place for the normal person that has a good job, has a good work ethic, and has some brains, and really wants to see how fast he can push his truck. I think that that's a class for those people. Pro truck and down, that is a 48 RE class. If I'm going to do a shameless plug here, we have been 488 with Phillips truck with 4,500 pounds. You don't have to weigh 4,500 pounds anymore, guys. You can build a 4,000 pound truck. It's really not hard to build a 4,000 pound truck, especially if you're starting from scratch right now. There's enough information out there. You can build one lighter than that. I have a truck sitting right over here that is far lighter than that at race weight. You know, it's hard when you put a 300 pound driver in one, but if you take the time to build a lightweight chassis, you don't have to buy as much horsepower, and you don't have to go invest in a Turbo 400 and spend $30,000, $35,000 on one of those swaps. You can do it with a 48. We have a recipe for it. You can do it with traditional engine setups. I think that it's really going to be great for the future of the class. So that's all I got for this one, guys. Just wanted to take a few minutes, and if you didn't already know about the ODSS rules, I wanted to make sure that you did know, and I wanted to put my take out there on it. So I want to know now in the comments, what do you guys think? What do you think about the rules? What class are you guys the most excited about racing? And if there's any controversy, let's talk about it. I'm in the comments. I respond to all of them. So get in there and let's talk about this. That's all I got for this one, guys. Catch you next time.